Yeah, hi. I got this collector's plate from a neighbor lady. I mow her lawn every summer and help her out sometimes when she needs shopping. I'll mention her name in the description when I post this. She gave me this really nice collector's plate because if you notice, it's got a chip on the edge here. I'm going to see if I can reconstruct it. I'll show you on the back a little more about this plate. If you can read that here. Pretty nice. It's limited edition. It's a religious plate made by W.L.George Fine China. And get a close look at this chip here. I've already got some of the materials. I'll show them here in a sec. But that's, and it does go, I've got some gold leaf to cover this gold trim along here. As you can see, it goes down a little bit there, and I've got some putty, resin putty to fill it in. So I'll show you what I've got here. These are the supplies that I picked up for it so far. This is by a company called Milliput. It's a modeling, sculpting, and wood turning restoration of porcelain and other ceramics, which is kind of what that is. It's in the same thing. They're suitable for repairs to, and you can even use it for bath sinks and tiles and so forth. And even though I got this online, I also saw it at a local Hobby Lobby. Got some pretty nice, you can see that here, fine detail brushes. They're brand new. I'm going to use oil paint on this to make it more permanent. I've got some 400 grit 3M sandpaper. That's to smooth this out after I put some of this on there. There's my paint remover because I'm going to be using oil paints, and then I've got some of this liquid gold. I found this at the local Hobby Lobby. Stuff's not cheap. It's $7 for this little 3/4 of an ounce bottle. You shake it up and you can see what it looks like in there, and it's supposed to match this stuff, so as you can see, it's really close. It should work pretty good. I think it's going to be indistinguishable when I put it on there. I still have to get some other paints. I decided I was going to go with a couple of light green shades, as many as I can find, and then some pearl white to kind of match the white that's on here. I'll go ahead, I'm going to be picking up the paint soon, and I'll go ahead and continue this video and then show you the after I finished everything. Well, I gave the putty epoxy about 6 hours to dry, and it's pretty good. It should work. I trimmed off, there was a little excess along here, and I used these little snippers to trim them so it looks a lot better. I think what I'll do now is just go ahead and, I've got some extra files and stuff here. I'm going to gently go along it. Got these two guys. I am getting a set of tools for working with plastic models and action figures and plastic toys in general. Got these little sanders and file. And the paints I'm going to be using, I'm going to start with this guy, which I think would be a pretty close match. Light green. Some of this Masters Touch brand, which I got on half sale. I also have some of this, which I can touch it up with. It's olive green. And then for the other side, I was trying to get pearl white. The closest I could find was titanium white, so it should be pretty close. And then, like I said, I've got this gold. Got that. Well, I'll go ahead and take a little break here and work on this, and then I'll see how well this works. Well, I used the 600 grit, which did smooth it, but it didn't leave a very smooth feel to it. I ended up using this one here. This is part of that kit that I got. All right. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and put some of this green on there, this light green, and cover much of that and see what it looks like compared to the other stuff. It's pretty close, especially if I use it in, I think I need something even lighter, almost like a celery green. I used to have some, but it was an acrylic and it dried out. So So, but I got to put a little more, just a tiny bit of the epoxy putty right along that edge there, and just let it harden, and then go ahead and try to sand that down along that edge there, and try to get the match for the gold. You know, make it so it looks like it continues on all the way around. But I'll go ahead and work on this in the morning. Let the paint and this putty dry a lot more. I'll give it another probably 8 hours or better. Well, it's been a while since I got a little bit of free time. I've been pretty busy lately. I haven't done this before. I've never used this stuff before, but I've heard pretty good things about this Milliput epoxy putty. I got me an X-Acto knife, which I already had as part of a set, and the plate is right here. The piece I need to put in there is pretty small. I think my best bet would be to cut off a tiny piece, a small piece, and roll it and flatten into a little thin spot, and just put it right into the crack right there. So I'm going to try to do that here, and I'll continue the video here in a sec. Well, I forgot it was this way. This being an epoxy, it says it's got two parts here. You just take a little bit of each and mix it together. The instructions, they got partially obscured by an extra sticker that was on it. I bought this online. I actually found this stuff over at a local Hobby Lobby, and I should have bought it there. But at least the price was all the same. One of these is about $13. So not the cheapest, but definitely pretty professional. And it's a British product. Which yeah. Okay. It says it's supposed to set and become rock hard in 3 to 4 hours. So I'll go ahead and put some together. Let me get a piece cut here. It's kind of interesting. This stuff has a texture kind of like clay or Play-Doh, but there's no scent to it whatsoever. But since the bar itself, if you see, it's about the size of the where I need to put in there. So I'm just going to cut a little thin amount like that, and that one. I got to take a little bit of the blue and a little bit of the white, and you mix them together, and knead them and get them as flat as possible, and then press it on there. And then once it hardens, I've got some 400 grit sandpaper, which is what was recommended online, to sand and smooth it down and make it match the rest, as far as just to fill this little gap. And you can see it's got a bit of it's got a slight bit missing there, so I'm going to fill that in. And I got some gold paint for this, and I got a couple of shades of green to hopefully fill this in. Luckily I didn't get too much else. I as you can see, where the lamb are, the two lambs, and where Jesus' foot and all that is, and the little kid, it's nowhere near that. It's just a bunch of grass texture. So I went with a couple of shades of green, some green oil paints, and we'll see how that works. It's my first time doing this, but I'm going to give it a try here. So the box on itself, it says to keep this epoxy putty in a cool, dry environment. Still, when you store it, I've got them in their own little bags. They come with little bags that widen out, and they had little strips on them, which I went and threw away. I put them inside of this the snack baggie, and this should keep at least the moisture out. And I'll go ahead and put this away. And I don't know if I'll ever need to use the rest of this, but I guess if anybody I know needs a little bit, I'd be glad to, make up a bit or something. But I'm going to roll I've got these two pieces that are about equal size. Should be about the same. All I got to do is knead them together and roll them and so forth, and I'll put it in place. Okay, it may not look like it, but I went ahead and rolled the two pieces together, and I think together these are now the same. They're each about half of those two. I'm just going to see, because it's not going to take much to fill that in. But I'm going to go ahead and I'll have to put the camera down and stop it for a bit to go ahead and put this in place. I'll let it sit for 4 hours, and it's where I'm at now. It's 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So about 9 o'clock tonight, I'll go ahead and take the sandpaper to it, and I can probably go ahead and paint it one of the colors of green. Yeah, this doesn't take much at all. I notice my fingers are getting a little bit of white residue from probably got a powder or something in there. I'm going to go ahead and let this harden, and then I'll go ahead and try to, I got a file too, just in case, because it's going to become a hard piece. But what I did was I went along the edges of that and tried not to have more of it on it, because there's no reason. I'll just be wasting paint. And I'll have to sand this and smooth it and make it just the same. I think I got it pretty close for just a rough estimate. And then I filled in and down underneath too. And I could pull some of this off, but I think I'll go ahead and let that harden like that, and then we'll have a little more. It doesn't hurt to have some excess on there, and then I'll go ahead and sand it down. So I'll check back in 4 hours. And okay, it's been almost a day since I did that. I had to I'm gonna have to go back and re-sand this a bit, but I got the epoxy putty to set properly. I tried mixing some green and white, some of that light green and that titanium white that I got, and dabbled a bit on there. It's pretty close. I'm gonna have to. It's still a little tacky. I keep coming away with a little bit of the paint on my finger to touch it, and the white is on the back. So I think what I'm gonna do is sand this for a while and smooth it down, and then I'll go back and I'll try quite a bit of white and some green, see if I can get close to that lighter. I'm almost tempted to get some tan, but I don't know, it might take me a while to do that. I don't know if I have the money for it. So I'll try green and white combinations for a while. Maybe that olive green might work. I'll go ahead and work on this for a bit here. Well, I've been sanding this and filing, and the putty. I think if you set it properly, which I think I did, following the instructions, it kind of turns into like a high quality chalk, sorta. By bring this up here, the edge is looking really good. I don't know if I can get it much better than this. Yeah, I gotta go back and do a touch of the gold. I was able to get a lot of that lumpiness off, and as you can see, it's pretty smooth now. It's starting to look like a plate, a whole plate again. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna try mixing some of the 3 paints I got and see if I can get some of these the light and very light and somewhat brown with a hint of brown to it. So I'm gonna see what I can do with that. All right. Well, I went ahead and I mixed a little bit of quite a bit of this titanium white, a little bit of olive green because it has a slight bit of a hint of brown in it, just to focus, and then a little more of this light green, which I think kind of matches the darker grass areas. What I got in here looks kind of like a celery green sort of. It's very light. There's a lot of white in there. I went ahead and put that down as a primer and filled it in, and it at least, if nothing else, it makes it look closer than it was, just instead of just being stark white. I'm going to let this sit for about a day and a half, and then we'll go ahead and see. And I'll see if I can use a little bit of the light green to get some of those grass effects. I'll have to just use I got these tiny little brushes. I'm hoping that one of them can give me a couple of little like light strokes along there to kind of give it a slight more realistic edge, like the artist had originally done. He left his signature on there. Right. So let's see what happens with this. Well, I've waited at least 2 days for the oil paint to dry, and it's still too light. I will admit though, the piece that was broken, that epoxy putty did a really good job filling it in, and I smoothed it down with a combination of that 400 grit sandpaper and a couple of little sanding pads that I got from that plastic toy repair kit. But it doesn't even, it doesn't even look like it was chipped. And it's really smooth and soft to the skin too. Now the underside, I can't replicate that shiny white. I think that's like a baked on. So I'm just going to have to leave it for now until I can figure something out. Maybe get some kind of a spray paint to kind of just coat it really quick. I should be able to put in the this gold line along here, but I'm going to first see if I can get this gold, green. Get this green here. The green patch there that's the wrong color. A little darker green should work, and again I'll be working with these three colors, trying to mix them in the right combination to see if I can get close to, well, see if we can zoom in a bit here. It'd be the area underneath in between the front legs of the lamb there, as you see in the center of the picture. That's what I'm kind of shooting for. As you can see, it's kind of a greenish brown with a slight hint of brown. And there is some of the light green for the blades there, the grass blades. So that's what I'm going to try to shoot for. Well, I tried I think an equal spot of titanium white, light green, and olive green. And it's closer. There's a little bit of a strip right there it's missing. So I may have to go back and touch that up. But I'm going to go and let this dry for a while. I'm going to give it a try and see if I can replicate, if I can get that gold, get this focus here, get that missing gold stripe along there and make it look as nice as the original. The paint I got should be right if I can do it right. I'm going to see if I can find my skinniest paintbrushes and see what I can do. Well, I found an equal amount of all three colors that I've got, light green, titanium white, and olive green. Seemed to be a pretty close match, but as close as I'm going to get. I did try to put that gold line along there, and maybe I'm just being picky, but it doesn't look that good. The paint works. As you can see, it matches pretty good. Now, keep in mind, this plate, like many of these collectible plates, were basically machine stamped, glazed, baked, whatever the procedure is for making these. These aren't hand painted. If they were, they'd be a lot rougher. And I don't consider myself an expert painter, but I'm gonna let that dry. It's gonna take like another 2 days. Tomorrow's Memorial Day when I'm filming this, so it'll probably be the day after, maybe the 1st of 2022 of June, and I'll see what I can do, and I'll try to I'll touch this up some more if I can. And okay, well, I've got the I think it's going to be as good as it's going to get for the paint, for the color on there. It's a really close match. The paint's a little chunky and still a little tacky. So as soon as it kind of dries, I'll try to lightly sand some of the excess off. A little messy with the gold. You can see a little bit there. I'm going to try to kind of file some of that away if I can carefully without taking too much of the plate itself underneath there. Otherwise, it doesn't look too bad. This has been a long video, kind of a learning process for me, and I'm hoping if other people are interested in this type of do-it-yourself repair work, I'm hoping this helps. You can see an area there where I sanded it down, and that's underneath the gold lip, or the trim there. There was some excess gold that I painted by accident. I'm not really sure how to cover that up. The white I got is not a gloss white, it's just standard white, so it's not going to help much. I'll have to see if I can find something to do that later with, but I think in the meanwhile I'm going to have to let the rest of the... I could try lightly touching that paint, so give me a couple of minutes here and let's see if this works. Otherwise I'm going to have to wait another day or so for this oil paint to completely dry. I just barely sanded it, and that green was coming off immediately. So I took I can't see anymore. I took actually just a a small amount of each of those and mixed them really, really well together, and took a, it's a number, looks like a 0, a spotter. It's really just a general one here. It's not really a very thin one. I just want something to kind of mash it down and smooth it. It looks like it's better. I sanded off some of the lumpiness and put it on as delicately as I could, and I'm just going to have to let it dry. And that's the one thing I'm kind of frustrated about oil paints. I knew they would take about 2 days to dry. They seem to take closer to 3, almost 4 days. and they still keep getting a little bit. Every time you barely touch it, you come away with a little bit. So I can probably see why a lot of artists don't really use this much anymore. But I'll let this sit for another couple of days, and it should be it, and I'll wrap this video up. I think I've got about as much done as I can do on this. The green, most of it's dry, but there's a little bit that's tacky. Every time I lightly touch it, I come away with a tiny bit of green paint on my finger. So I'm just going to leave it. It does look pretty good. It's smoother. It's not as chunky as it was before. So the gold, I reapplied it. Most people are familiar with paintbrushes, basically like this. They're not bad. I found one up at the Hobby Lobby. It's more professional, and it's the smallest one they've got, and it's a long brush. I think I know why. It's because the balance on it's amazing. This is supposed to be a liner, size 0, but I've already mashed the head, so the brush head, so it's not as tight anymore. But it did a really good job on the gold. I went back and touched it up again. I get the focus. There we go. It looks really good. I mean, to be honest, the original, if you look along here, this original on here, I don't think an actual person did this originally. And this plate was made in 1988, so it's got some age on it. It was well taken care of. It probably was boxed, but recreating it and getting it to blend in with it, it's kind of worked. The only bad problem is if you deal with something like this, these paints and the paint thinner have got a chemical called xylene in them, and I've heard about that it's kind of what causes people to go loopy if they inhale a lot of it. You can sniff it, and oof, it stinks really bad. It's a really bad solvent smell to it, so it's not wise to. I'm inside where it's not that well ventilated. Well, it's kind of ventilated, but it's better to do this outside or in an area with a lot of open windows. But luckily I've just gone ahead and put the lid back on this. But I think I'm going to wrap this up, and I'll go ahead and share this long video on both Facebook and YouTube. Whoever made it to the end of this, I appreciate you being the patient on this. This is a learning experience for me, and it could be a learning experience for other people that want to dabble in painting or restoration or do-yourself repair or anything equivalent. This is a new one for me. Thank you so much for checking this out.